Let's just talk about Part 1 crime. We went back to 2002, so it's a 10-year period from where we were citywide with Part 1 crime. And Part 1 crimes are all your major crimes. You know, murder, robbery, rape, burglaries, thefts, auto theft, and arson. As you can see, there's about 26%, almost 27% reduction in Part 1 crimes citywide over this past decade. And that's taking into account that we had the Monkey Junction annexation, which actually boosts those numbers up a little bit during those months that we had that in the city. Now, violent crime, let's talk a little bit about that. Defined by the FBI uniform crime stats, violent crime is murder, forcible rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. So they define that as violent crime here in the United States. Where are we with violent crime? In the decade, we went from over 1,000 violent crimes down to 602, or a 40.3% decrease in violent crime citywide during this time. That takes into account the Monkey Junction annexation numbers too, which actually boosted those numbers a bit. I thought it was important to understand how the city is broken up. It's broken up into 6 districts. So as we look at some of the district numbers, you'll have an idea of what we're talking about. Central Business District, of course, is kind of up to top to the left near the river. District 1 is kind of the north, west part of the city. District 2 goes out to North Kerr Avenue all the way down to Oleander. District 3 is really historic Wilmington for the most part. District 4 is everything south of that. 5 is out by the university from North Kerr Avenue out to the city limits to the Intercoastal Waterway. And then District 6 is everything south of that all the way down to Monkey Junction. Where are we with Central Business District? We hear a lot about, quote, the Central Business District, you know, downtown. Well, we decided early on that we were going to redefine what downtown was. And so I like to call it the Central Business District or the you know, the restaurant bar district. And in the decade, we have seen a 38.5% decrease in Part 1 crimes in the Central Business District, which is a record low since we've been keeping stats as far as crime in the Central Business District itself. It actually set a record this year. Now look at this number. You hadn't seen this number. This is the new boundaries for downtown. That's 5th Avenue from bridge to the river. In 2002, we had over 1,143 crimes in this downtown district. We've got almost a 67% decrease, 67% decrease in Part 1 crimes in this new downtown district here. And so we went from 1,100 to about 379 crimes in 2012. It's a huge, huge decrease in crime. Yes.
What were the boundaries in, say, for example, 2002? Are we looking at the same geographic area?
Yes. What we did is we took 5th Avenue to the river, bridge to bridge. These are apples and apples.
And the old boundaries used to go to 16th or 17th, is that?
No, this is what we're calling downtown now.
I understand.
Before we called, the media especially called downtown everything. I mean, it could have been out Princess Place and 30th Street. So right now, we've worked with the media outlets, and they've been really good with trying to, when they talk about downtown, they're talking from 5th Avenue to the river, bridge to bridge. And so before that, there was no downtown. I mean, it was everywhere. Part 1 crimes, when we look at, you know, citywide by district, clearly, you know, the two busiest districts are District 5, which is where the university is, and our commercial corridor, Walmart, and some of those other places, and District 4. So, really, a lot of our work is out that way in the city when we look at our workload. In the central business district, it's only 4% of our Part 1 crime occurs in the central business district. In the new downtown boundary, it's only 6%. When we look at Part 2 crimes is everything else that's not Part 1 crimes. It's your drunk drivings, your simple assaults, your disorderly conducts, everything, drug arrests, things of that nature. And again, we can see that even when we look at the disorder crimes in the downtown central business district, it's only 10% of all activity in the city. And that's taking into consideration all the late night activity that occurs down there, which is substantial, but clearly there's a lot more going on in the rest of the city than just the bar district or the central business district. And when we take the new boundary into place, it's still only 13%. We look at call load by district, and again, the central business district has only 6% of the entire call load. This past year, 2012, we responded to about over 172,000 calls for service. Out of that, only 10,000 were in the central business district, or 19,000 in the new downtown boundary. So clearly, the vast majority of our work is everywhere outside of the downtown boundary or the central business district. And I got this up here just to let you know, self-initiated calls. That means what officers initiate on their own, absent of radio calls. And the key to this chart is the less calls to service you have, the more time you have to initiate self-initiated activity. And as you can see, the central business district has the highest self-initiated activity than anywhere else in the city because there's more time and we have more people, per square block downtown than we do anywhere else in the city. Now, this just kind of gives you a feel of what's going on in the city. These are robbery locations citywide, and as you can see, we have clusters. Not only do we have it in the District 1 and District 2, and some down in the Central Business District, and the ones in the Central Business District really occurred over a short span. We had about 2 months where things were really heating up for us, and luckily we were able to put some people in jail, and it's really calmed down. We're not seeing much activity out there at all, although the warm weather hasn't broke yet, and we know that there's always a spike when that occurs. But we have different clustering around the city, so it's not just 1 or 2 areas that we have to be concerned about, but these are armed robbery locations in the city. And this just lets you know that we just don't haphazardly put our people out there in the field. We know that day of the week things are happening and the blocks of times they're occurring. So we know when we need to have people in certain locations in and about the city. Our crime analyst is very learned in this and helps us direct our resources based on time of day and type of activity. So this kind of gives you a feel of what's happening based on the time frames there. This is just robbery by hours. Lets us know what time of the day we should be focusing our resources on. These are aggravated assaults. And again, it shows the clustering around the city. You can see there's a cluster down by Shipyard Boulevard, another cluster in District 3, clustering out by District 2, and again by the college. And so, we have multiple locations that we have to be concerned about and be able to respond to on a regular basis. But the next one is our burglary locations for an entire year. So understand there's a lot of them on this next chart, but it is a year's worth. So clearly, property crime are our biggest number generator. And I hope our legislators understand that, because violent crime is pretty well under control, but property crimes, as you can see, I mean, they're everywhere. And the problem is most of these are repeat offenders who we've arrested and charged on multiple occasions for multiple crimes that continue to victimize our people out there. So we need to understand that our focus is really a citywide focus for law enforcement. And we tend to get pulled to squeaky wheel. I personally don't listen to squeaky wheels because I have to look at this and I have to assign our resources based on what's best for the entire city. And then sworn separations, meaning officers that we have had to replace throughout the year. Last year we lost 17. We're in the process of hiring right now, and we're actually in a pretty good situation where we're getting people hired pretty quickly here. Now, the mobile field force proposal. We got some good news there. Some of that good news is, crime is down and violent crime is down. Property crimes are a big problem, have been a big problem, but we have the fear of crime that has been prevalent in areas of our city that people want to see more resources out there. And we have the issue of crime displacement. That is when we put pressure on an area of the city, because people are so mobile now, that crime moves, and it's moving all the time. And we have to have the ability to be able to quickly respond to those moving trends out there. So our proposal is to staff a 12-person unit, 7 of which are existing positions we have within the department that we will redeploy. We ask to hire 5 additional positions, 3 of which would be sworn positions, 2 of which civilian positions, which are now being staffed by sworn officers in those positions. One of them is a quartermaster position, and the other one is a CSI position, which has sworn officers in there. We will redeploy them to this team, and it'll give us a total of 12 at that point. What will this mobile field force do? Well, basically, there'll be 2 teams, Team A and Team B. Okay, Team A is going to be the uniform team, which will be the ability to have rapid deployment of uniformed personnel to address the fear of crime issues in neighborhoods. So if we got an area that we know people are really shaky and we need to get in there and have people on the ground, we can move this team in as quickly as possible. We have rapid deployment for crime displacement issues. So if we see something heating up somewhere else, we can move this team immediately and get boots on the ground there. We deploy direct maintain flexible shifts. Basically, they'll be able to work days today. They have to come in and work nights tomorrow night. We'll be able to do that and not have to worry about disrupting our regular patrol staffing schemes we have out there. And provide criminal intelligence and appropriate internal and external stakeholders. So basically to get the word out both within the neighborhoods and within the policing profession. And assist Team B, which is our plainclothes piece of this. Team A will be highly visible. That's their piece of this mobile field force. Team B will be in plainclothes. They'll investigate and conduct surveillances of suspicious activities, both people, vehicles, locations. They'll be trained in decoy and surveillance operations and quickly identify and apprehend offenders and conduct specific takedown operations. They'll also work on flexible shifts to be able to move with the movement of crime, provide intelligence, again, to the appropriate stakeholders, and follow up on intel that's provided by our analysts and or other agencies within the region. So what's this cost? Well, the entire cost is $493,000 if it was for a full year. Well, since it won't be for a full year, it's $309,000. That's all the equipment. That's getting these people hired. That's getting this thing up and running. Probably this spring sometime, we're hoping. The reoccurring cost, meaning what is the cost for the personnel and the maintenance issues there, is about $310,000 per year for this. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief Evangelist? We do have one from Mr. O'Grady. Mr. O'Grady?
Chief, do you see this force working more on the violent crime issue or on the robberies, the property crime issues, or neither, or both?
Whatever is percolating at that point. Now, I see the plainclothes unit maybe looking more towards, we know, repeat offenders, which we know only about 10 to 20% of the suspects commit about 80% of the crime. So I think we need to focus more on that 10 or 20% in order to have a real reduction in numbers. But whatever the issue is at that time, like we have an issue of street robberies that occur, we need to get on that. We have home burglaries that are occurring in an area, we need to get on that. So it depends what's actually happening during that particular time frame.
And, I often go to your ComStat meetings, and I've always admired the fact that you're very adaptable to changing circumstances. And I think the thing I like about this proposal is it gives you a lot more flexibility on your staffing. Because sometimes you find a hot spot, and this will allow you to kind of concentrate on that. So I think it's a good idea. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Mr. Ravenbart?
Chief, if this goes tonight, and I assume it will, what kind of timeline are we talking about getting out there and doing what you just described?
We'll be able to put half the team together relatively quickly, probably within, we have quickly. We have a team that we're going to redeploy and retrain, probably the uniform piece of this, because with the visible part is what I really need out in the neighborhoods right now for the fear of crime issue. Probably April-ish, we should be able to redeploy and have that plainclothes team ready to start moving.
And the second question is, you alluded to the fact that there's about 80% of the crime is being committed by the 80-20 rule, and they're in a turntable. What do you have expectations that can change, that these people won't be put right back out on the street, or are you just going to keep rearresting them more regular than we have been? Excuse me.
The criminal justice system is like a wagon wheel with spokes in it, and in order for it to work, the whole wheel has to turn with the spokes working, and it has not worked as far as property crimes are concerned. That goes without saying. Property crimes drive virtually most agencies' numbers, and it's a problem. All we can do is we arrest them and we put them into the system. Sure, we've tried, and we still work on reentry, to get reentry programs for people who are coming out of prison, because if they don't have a job, they're going to revert to crime to feed themselves. That's just a matter of how it works. And so we're still working in that direction. But we have two issues here. One is we want immediate law enforcement action to keep people safe and have them feel good. But you have another section of society that believes in due process. And due process by its very nature is slow. It takes a lot of time to have due process go through. So this competing issue all the time is due process, or do we want immediate police action? And so it competes, and sometimes it's difficult we're right now is in the policing mode. The due process mode will come along with it, but I don't have an answer to that. All I know is we can work within the system and hopefully get the repeat offenders off the street, because that will have the biggest impact on crime, is our repeat offenders.